storm, cancellation, rescheduling, trying to fight for rooms to hold our meeting in, and I want to kind of stay with this room because we've been here all along, so it worked out well, but just had to adjust the time a little bit. So calling the meeting to order at 16:45. I think there's going to be a couple of people that are going to be dialing in. I see Brian, and I'm hoping John Fuller will be able to make it, but we do have a quorum, although I don't foresee any vote necessary this evening in regards to our meeting itself. So with that being said, Peggy, I'd like to open up public speak if there's anyone that would like to speak on behalf of, for the Veterans Memorial Park or Veterans Committee.
No hands raised on Zoom.
No hands raised, okay. And first on the agenda will be a follow-up from the Veterans Day service. Thank you letters. I've got 2 letters here that I would like to have our members sign. I will forward these to, one is to Steve Welsh for the music, the other is to Meg Anthony. If you could just sign just to the right of your name, Dave. Okay. And then I'll sign mine, and then hand it down to Andrew. All right. While that is going on, I'd like to have Russ. Like to have Russ speak in regards. What? There's 2 letters.
That's right here. Okay.
And then this one is just.
After you. Hi, folks.
While those are being signed, I'm going to let Russ have the floor, give us a punch list. Basically, we did a 11th hour push on November 10th to get ready for the November 11th service, but there's still a few loose items, and Russ will address those.
Sure. Thank you, Kevin. For the record, Russ Kleekamp with EDR. Regarding the punch list, remaining items for the park, we're more or less easily 99% of the way there. We have some remaining items. So just so everyone knows, the contractor, GFM, does have a 1-year warranty period from the date of substantial completion, which is a formal letter that they submit saying we feel the park is substantially complete. That's defined as the project being used for its intended use. So we're still within that 1-year period. So one of the things we looked at before the snow was obviously we just want to keep for the initial year, the first year is make sure that all the joints and everything with the sand and the bricks, everything still stays seamed together. We did the initial placement of the bricks, we set them all in. We did do a follow-up at the very first rain event that happened after the bricks were placed. We saw some of the areas just very gently in between with the cracks, which is expected when you do stonework and brick like that. So they did go out and apply some more poly sand to make sure it's all locked in, but we're going to continue to monitor, taking walks around after the snow melts of the park to make sure that there's no gaping holes in any of the stonework there. We did want to chamfer the edge of the stone seating wall, the half-moon wall, and all that chamfer is just kind of like just a half-inch diagonal cut. It just makes it a little easier when you're sitting, when you put your hands on it to push yourself up. It's not a hard edge. We want to keep an eye on all the utilities out there. So I didn't have an opportunity before the snow, but we want to pop open all the pull boxes, make sure all the lids are functioning, nothing got twisted or torqued. And then again in the springtime we can go around, check all the outlets, make sure they're working. And likewise for the irrigation, we want to make sure that that's still functioning properly, and we understand that the Rainmaker has also committed to making sure that that's stays intact for the months and years to come here. I did want to go look at the stormwater drains, pull the grates off them, make sure they're not filled in with sediment or anything like that. They did protect the grates when we did get the rain events. So just some final punch list items with the utilities, but we've sorted it out. We're holding back a very small amount of retainage for the contractor. About 1%, it's in the realm of $3,000 to $4,000 just to make sure these punch list items are corrected. But we don't anticipate any other work to be done other than the punch list items.
One thing I wanted to ask you real quick, I know that the electric has been run to each of the monuments.
Yep.
And I know there was some talk about, you know, the type of lighting.
Correct.
Is the plan, I mean, I'm thinking that we're probably gonna have some of these monuments in within the next year, but it may go outside of that 1 year. Like, for instance, is there a 1 year, when you say 1 year, like, warranty, that's through GFM, but that doesn't extend on into the electric, or does it?
No, so what that warranty, that's for the work that GFM performed. I don't believe in the bid documents that we actually specified the physical type of light fixture to sign up. We just put all the infrastructure in place, so when we do build the monuments, we can come put the light there, it'll have power, and we don't have to redig. So the physical lights that are gonna shine on the monuments were not part of the plan. That will have to be an electrician coming back afterwards.
Okay.
But all the utility, the conduits, everything's right there, and that was the intent of the design. Just because, you know, the shape, the size, where you want the lights, it's until the monuments are decided on, then we want to pick the lights to make sure we got the best coverage on them.
I did talk with Tom. Tom told me that the indigenous marker should be complete. If it's not, it's going to be complete within the next few days. And then he said that when the weather turns and he can start getting ready to put his stuff in, he's coming down, he's got to dig out where that monument is going to go, put down some crushed stone, put something down, and then that monument is going to lay in kind of at a bevel, so it's kind of angled up. He asked me, he said, are you aware of any irrigation or electric or anything? And I said, in looking at the map that I last saw, I don't think there was anything in that general area, but even if there is, he says he's only going to be going down, I think the granite block itself is 8 inches thick, so he would probably be going down a little bit beyond that. Other than maybe an irrigation line or something like that, I can't.
Yeah, and what we can, we'll double check the plans, of course, to see it. I think the irrigation and electric had 2 feet of berry over them.
Okay.
Ideally, you don't want a fixed memorial, even if there's I don't believe there's one in that area.
Yeah.
But even if there was one, it should not conflict with the placement of that.
Because he did say that that monument or that memorial is different from the others, whereas it doesn't have a base.
Right, it's
just
more of
yeah, it's
larger footprint.
its own weight is what's going to keep it
Yeah.
in its place, and it's expanded on top of that crushed stone. So
Yep.
he said that that's just a little extra work on his part, that he's going to tamp it down and make sure it's ready for it. He said he doesn't remember, but I don't think it's a problem. If he comes in with a crane, I think he'll be able to swing out over where that spot is, where we've designated for that.
Yeah, kind of like how the World War I, just put the truck on try to swing in
Yeah,
there.
pretty much.
Yep.
I think it's closer than World War I, so it shouldn't be.
Well, it raises an interesting question for the other monuments that are inside, is how do we get them in there? If we don't, I don't know if we necessarily want to be driving equipment over the walkways.
I think in talking with Tom, and this was some of our early conversations, that with the 2 big monuments on the Route 28 side, Korea and Vietnam, he would have enough room. If he came in, we'd have to close one lane down.
Okay.
And really, I mean, it would be nothing more than, we'd probably have to we'll ask DPW for a detail officer for the delivery of those.
Yeah.
And then we'll just have a detail officer cone off the crane truck, and then we'll just collapse one of the turn lane for Main Street coming down 28 South. So we'd still be able to get 2 lanes by.
That should be an hour or 2, we're not looking at a major traffic interruption.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I know that having the crane there for the World War I was a challenge, because it was a pretty long reach. That's why
Right.
Bobby Hour, Bobby Hour was there with their crane. And he may do the same again, because I know that crane that he had was mammoth, so.
Yep.
Yeah, so that shouldn't be an issue, so. Okay, yeah, I was kind of hoping, and I will talk to, I'll talk to Rich about any concerns that they may have, but, I kind of included him on this, and I didn't hear anything, so I'm assuming that, although they've been pretty busy with the storm, so I can't
Yeah.
imagine that they're making our punch list a high priority to make it to the next meeting.
One thought with the lights is, if we do pick out the type of lights we want, we do have to follow procurement laws of certain thresholds to paying for things, but if the town can procure the materials, or the committee can procure the materials, the lights, and if it's under $10,000 to have an electrician come install that, when the 10,000 is the threshold for going out to bid. If it's under 10,000, you can use what's called best business practice. So that's just something to keep in mind for the future, once we do pick out the lights and all that. It might be a more cost-effective approach to, putting out another bid package or something like that. But we can certainly talk before then.
And I did talk to Steve Welsh at the Veterans Day service in regards to the pull boxes for the sound system.
Mhm.
And he was going to reach out to Kevin,
Yep.
who is working with him on that. So when the snow clears and we can get a chance, maybe I'll have the DPW go down there and have him do what he's got to do to make sure that all the, and I don't envision anything
Yep.
amiss. I mean, that's just.
Yeah, those conduits should be there with the pull cords in them, ready to go we have a spare in there for whatever the use may be.
All right. Anyone from the committee have a question for Russ?
Yes, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no foundation or base for the entrance monument. That's
Because
right.
the entrance monument.
Well, that would be, yeah, I think we need one.
Well, it's, what he's referring to is coming off of Main Street.
Yeah,
When you
the-
walk into the park, on one of our early drawings.
Oh, right, like
we
that
had
welcome to Veterans
Memorial
Park.
Now, I did talk to Tom. He actually is going to be, and I think I mentioned at the last meeting, he's going to be utilizing one of the wings from the World War I monument that was left over, which is that rose granite.
Mhm.
He's going to flip it to its side, he's going to try engraving it, and he's going to treat that similar to the indigenous marker,
Mhm.
whereas it's low, it's not very tall, and it would be kind of set down and it'll sit on the crushed stone.
Crushed
And then, of
stone
course,
is considered permanent base, foundation?
Well, if it's a weight-bearing structure where the weight is considered,
Yeah.
whether it's sitting on crushed stone, grass, whatever it may be, the stone just gives you a little better stability, but I'd be curious, like the indigenous peoples marker sounds like it's a larger footprint
Yeah,
where it doesn't have much opportunity to tilt or fall over. And I think what I'd be concerned is if it's can tilt or fall.
I noticed one example at the National Cemetery in Bourne had a simple, this is near the entrance to there, which could be that simple. I recall Tom has already proposed his design, is that correct?
Well, we showed him all the drawings that we have for the entrance and the mock-up that Dave Hawk had done, and he said he could do the same thing by
Oh.
utilizing the
Yeah.
piece of leftover rose granite from the World War I.
So Dave Hawk had an idea originally,
On the early on.
I missed.
But even, I'm sure that might actually be sitting on crushed stone underneath the dirt for a base, and then you can
Yeah.
plant around it, so depending on what you want around the monument. And that one's a little more of a square shape.
Thank you.
is what it is.
This is a little bit
Yeah.
more elaborate, showing
Right.
a base and everything, but utilizing that same idea, if we shrunk it down a little bit, lowered it, not necessarily, but that's something our committee will agree on when we get to that point of creating.
Yeah, I
something.
think it's important to have a more impressive entrance introduction
Sorry.
monument. Anyway, that's just one idea.
It would be, so how this one is proposed there with like the grass around it. It would be nice if we could come up with a monument that's load-bearing itself, meaning it doesn't need to be fastened.
Which this could be.
Something like that, correct.
Right.
Yeah, it's more of a square base, not a rectangular thing that can
Right.
tip over. It would take a
Right,
pretty heavy gust of wind to
yeah.
move that one.
And I'm not sure that bronze or brass I mean, engraved, I think, would be more ideal, if I recall. Do we have any reference for Tom's suggestion on that entrance monument? Do we have any?
Has he rendered it yet, or made it, not
No,
yet?
no, our committee's going to decide what they want to have there first. I mean, Tom offered the rose granite that was left over from the World War I, he said he could do it. But again, he said, whereas nobody's going to walk on it, he said, I don't believe it's going to need much of a base, and if it does need a base, we could put a small, I don't say foundation, footing.
Footing.
That
Footing.
it could sit on.
I mean, that could be concrete theoretically, right?
It could be, and I would certainly, Tom's done enough of these to know what's stable and what's not, and it's an aesthetic. What do we want? Then I'll defer to the committee can
Right.
choose on that.
Right.
Okay.
So I think that was an idea coming forward, but that was something that I think Tom was going to propose or come back to the committee with once the weather got a little bit better and there wasn't any snow on the ground, so he could go out there and look at the area.
Sure.
Brian, do you have a question?
Yeah, it's just a comment on your discussion. I didn't see your drawing, but I think I know what it looks like. I've been talking to Tom about a couple of things. So he mentioned this piece that you're talking about from the World War I, and we had discussed him doing like almost like I guess a package for us, because he said he would work on this entry marker probably at that bend where you walk in off 28, and then with that, we had asked him to prepare a couple of what I call appreciation markers, and we were kind of working on that as a package, but just given the year end and the season, it's just something we're still working on. So I do want to address what you're saying about the entrance sign, but we're also going to do it maybe together with a couple of these other markers.
Yeah, I think I'm going to talk with Tom again about, I know he's got the indigenous marker in the wings and ready to go. We do have a proposal date or a reveal date of around April, plus or minus, and then I think we're hoping that, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the Korean War Memorial, we're hoping that we could have that in place by 4th of July. So I think that there's a few things that, hopefully Tom could probably be able to get done for us in the time frame between the two. So, okay.
Good.
Any other questions? All right, that being said, Russ, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
If you'd like to hang out.
Sure, I have a comment I want to pass on to Russ.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Brian.
If he's about to leave, I just wanted to say, since I haven't seen him in a while, I just wanted to say that we continue to get comments from donors who bought bricks, people who are just coming to the park, with the general comment that how nice the park looks. Whether it's such an incredible improvement, people are so pleased by having their veterans recognized in the park, but also just a place to come and sit, and how nice this park looks. So I just didn't want to have him walk out the door. I needed to tell him that, because we still get comments all the time.
Thank you, Brian. I truly appreciate that. And just the fact people are going there to reflect and relax is really a good thing.
I'll be the first, and I'm sure members of the committee have noticed as well. Unless it was in the past, unless it was either Veterans Day or Memorial Day, you never saw anybody in the park. And up until we had the snowstorm, and actually I saw footprints through the snow in there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that could have been the DPW workers, I don't know, but it looks like even people are going in there and shuffling around, and we never saw that before. So, I mean, it's, the vision was there, and you brought it to life, and it's...
And I'll pass that on to Dave Hawk too, Brian. That's very kind to thank me, but he had the original vision there, so thank you though.
Plus, everybody's made comments, several people to me about the lights.
Yes,
Like at Christmas.
Delightful.
It's
Yeah,
just been
that was nice.
so beautiful.
it really hung them very well on the cherry trees and
Yeah.
the spruce.
Yes.
They're still up, and I think I've heard a few people say that that's the reason why the weather is so cold, because we've angered Mother Nature by leaving the Christmas lights up after Christmas. But I think the town's going to allow us to have them there for a little bit.
Maybe we should consider finding out if they could remain for
Well, there was-
for the duration of the winter.
There was some talk about possibly trying to find an all-weather light that could go on there, and you could actually have them come up different colors. Like on 4th of July, you could have red, white, and blue, and they would alternate. And
That's cool.
For New Year's, it could be white, and Christmas, they could be multicolored, and
Like the Empire State Building.
It's a great idea.
yeah.
And if
So-
the Patriots win the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
then it would have
They'll
the
flash.
colors. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, all right, with that being said, thank you, Russ. I'd like to move on two things real quick. I want to update the group on the committee on the Civil War Soldier CPC application that I put together on behalf of our committee. That application was to have Albert taken down. There were two options: have Albert taken down, create a wax molding, create a new monument made out of bronze silicone, and put the new bronze silicone up on the podium, and then Albert would come back and he could live over at the CHO, the Cultural History of Orleans, and he could be in his retirement inside the building. The CHO wasn't really sure if they want to accept it. They didn't know what the upkeep would be, although I don't really know what the upkeep would be. He's been out there for 143 years, and we haven't really done anything to him or for him, so he's been pretty good, but we will revisit that. But when I presented it to the Historical Commission first and then went on to the CPC, the Historical Commission said you can't create something new from something old. It won't fall within the state's historical restoration or restoration of existing historical artifacts. So they opted, let me just back up. That first option would be about $68,000 to create a new bronze sculpture, which is the same sculpture that Tom Brady was made. That was the same company, actually, that built the Tom Brady sculpture. So the price was about $68,000. The restoration of that tin, zinc rather, the zinc plating, for them to come down, take it down, transport him to Canton, do the restoration work, rebuild the internals, rebuild the posts that come up out of the base, and then bring him back was $120,000. I think the total was $120,000. So the Historical Commission and the CPC both balked at the cheaper version only because they didn't allow them to do the work, whereas the full restoration does allow them to do the work. So we pulled back on option one. We're going forward with option two for $120,000. That was going to go up before the town meeting in the fall, spring, and it's in the package. So we'll see how that goes forward. The select board did vote for the bronze, but the CPC said that their hands are tied. They can't, even though it was a cheaper option, they couldn't do the restoration. It has to be, because we weren't utilizing, he wasn't going back up there. He was going over there and a replica was going up, and that didn't fall within the historical guidelines of the state. So, left my head scratched a little bit, but I can roll with the punches.
Kevin, what material was the $120,000 for?
That's the actual zinc. It's the replacement of the zinc.
Right, with zinc.
And we had, at the Historical Commission meeting, we had the gentleman from the company explain that zinc is kind of like, fashioned kind of like aluminum, but it's more brittle. He explained it's kind of like peanut brittle. You can bend it so far, but then it'll give way, and there's no way to repair it. And that soldier, both legs have got cracks going up and down, and the base itself is cracked and leaning back. That's why he's taking a resting position. And he doesn't have a rifle either, which is one of the part of the restoration was to put the rifle, to make another rifle and get that in place. So if everything goes the way is planned at this point, we'll go, part of town meeting will be the CPC application. If it passes, then we'll reach out to the company and we'll start with the next process to have him removed. And we will be without Albert for the first time in 143 years for about 6 to 8 months. So we'll see how that goes. The second CPC article that I put in for was for the $20,000 to pay Tom Blut work that had already been done on the World War I, which is the restoration of the World War I monument at Veterans Memorial Park. While we were, actually, the day before I actually presented and was requesting reimbursement for $20,000 for all the work that Tom had done at Veterans Memorial Park, which included the World War I monument, the cleanup of the other monuments, the assistance with the Coast Guard bell, and then paying for the crane to come in to unload and put the World War I monument in place. It was discovered that GFM had been sitting on the funds, so there was a transfer of funds between GFM to Tom Blut. So knowing that that was covered, I withdrew that CPC application for the $20,000, which would go to Tom for the work that he had completed for the park itself. And that, like I said, it was a World War I monument. It was removing the monument, disassembling, having the cranes and equipment to take it back to his shop, do the work at the shop, and then return and put it back in place. So that was the lion's share of that, the $20,000 restoration. So that being said, that request was pulled. So right now we're just waiting to see what happens at town meeting spring for the Civil War soldier, to see if we can get him restored and back into place and standing tall again with the rifle for a change, instead of just holding his hands. Okay, moving on. The next step is probably going to be a little bit of a discussion in regards to the Korean War Memorial. Reminding everybody back to October and November when Katie and I and
Vince.
Vince Van Norman met with Tom and spoke about the Korean War Monument and what we were, possibly looking at. He had mentioned, let's see one of the images here, was the block itself would be made of, was it rose granite? Rose granite.
Black.
Garnet.
Black Indian. I thought it was red. Shoot, I
Red
had it.
Indian.
Red Indian. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a garnet colored
Yes.
monument, and I thought I had the image of India red granite. So-
India red.
Indian.
Yeah, and so that, he's given us a base model of the India red, 4.5 feet by 1'8" by, I don't know what those, oh no, those are, never mind. He said it was 4.5 feet wide and it was roughly 2 feet deep, and it would sit on a red India marble base, and the face of the red India would have the engraving. It's polished, and when they engrave that polished red, the letters look white. I thought I had an image. I thought I had sent that along, but it wasn't. It's not in this batch of pictures. So this was the size of the monument itself, and let me see if I can remember how to minimize this now. That wasn't it. The thought process was to have the face of that monument right here hold the names of the Korean War veterans, and then the top had the angled part, would have either a bronze plate that we could manufacture, which I've got some ideas, and I'm going to move on to it in a minute. But interestingly enough, when I visited Tom's shop, he had this monument outside, and it was what he had been talking about, where, and this is just an example of how the bronze can look like a photograph. It's not engraved, it's, what do they call it, not embossed, but raised. If you ran your hand over it, the face is raised, the pictures, the images are all raised. It's kind of cool, and it can be pretty in-depth in the, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I didn't think they could do that with bronze.
On that subject, at the Logan Airport, I stumbled after I flew in overnight. It's on the floor in the baggage claim area. I'm not sure I think it's brass. What do you think? It's kind of impressive the way
Compass Rose.
it glows, yeah.
It looks like a polished brass, like a really
But
nice.
I qualify that by commenting that it may not be appropriate for an exterior, because brass will tarnish eventually, like bronze.
But you can see here,
But, yeah.
the raised portion of the bronze.
So it has that potential to glow. It's sort of
And
gold.
this, according to Tom, has been outside since 2005, so it's been 20 years sitting
Yeah.
outside and still looks pretty
Pretty
good.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've been doing this for 20 years. It's not like it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, well, and Tom had mentioned it, and he knew this plate was out back, but he hadn't located it. And this sits flat, so the weather, this is a flag holder. So it's done pretty well with time. So, with that on the top, the idea was, Tom said to us, we originally, at the last meeting, we talked about, or the meeting that we had
Right.
in regards to the Korean War Memorial, was these are the Marines marching out of the Chosin Reservoir. It was a photograph, there was a pencil drawing that was done that the post office ended up making a stamp of. And Tom said that they could absolutely do that type of bronze relief on the actual plate itself on the top. And the thought was, as you looked at the bronze plate here with these images, kind of a montage around the outside edge, he said if we get some images of planes, tanks, ships, whatever, they could arrange those around the edges. So I went on board and started looking up pencil drawings of tanks from Korea or Korea vintage era tanks, ships, helicopters, and Coast Guard, and Air Force. And
What
that's
kind
the
of plane is that?
that's the F-85 Sabre. And so, my thought was, we have those in a montage around the chosen reservoir Marines coming out of the mountains. But I know it's kind of hard to kind of visualize without seeing it. So I took it upon myself and my vast drawing skills to kind of draw this up.
Not bad.
And it doesn't have to, I mean, I obviously, these three on this side is a little crowded, but if we
Right.
kind of adjusted it around the edges, you could have the plane, the ship, the Coast Guard, the Navy. This would be the Army, Marine Corps in the middle, and we'll just say the tanks are supporting both divisions, Army and Marines.
Well, the chopper's reminiscent of MASH.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they're
Medevacs.
medevacs, and they're, would cover the hospital portion of the men and women that served during Korea.
Plus, that's nice for the Navy corpsmen that get attached to the, that's.
There you go.
That's a
Perfect.
very unsung contingent of.
Oh, absolutely. So with that in mind, with this type of montage and on a brass or bronze relief, we thought it could look pretty nice. So Tom is in full agreement. He basically said, just bring it back to your committee if you want to work with the, obviously, Tom says, work with the 501c3, come up with some ideas, whatever the cost might be for that. Now, all that being said, we are also running into an issue that came up when Brian and the 501c3 started doing some research, and I am going to let either Brian or Katie or Marty
Brian.
speak to, and I'm going to try to pull this up. This is the, Brian, this is the, what do you call it?
The expel sheets,
The
the
expel
big
sheet.
cards.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I make that bigger.
Which one do you want to make bigger?
There's two. I'll just make the top one for now. Hit you. See, it's a good thing you didn't leave.
$5, please.
Good thing you didn't leave. So I'm going to leave this up, Brian. I'm going to let you speak to our group in regards to what you discovered through the historical component of the military, and have at it.
All right, thanks. All right, well, I'll summarize. Well, obviously, as we got into the preparation for the Korean and the Vietnam Memorial, we knew that one thing we had to do was prove the names. And so Katie, myself, Marty, we started down the road of what's the best way to do this. We started from those original, we started from the original plaques. We had everyone's name, of which, just so you know, there are 120 names on those plaques. What we discovered was there was no order to how those names got on the plaques. They were mixed between the two theaters. Along the way, with people ordering bricks and wondering what was happening with their bricks, or the monuments themselves that were taken away in storage, realized that a couple of people who thought that their brother or their father was not represented, or had said to me, gee, I thought they were Korea, but it turned out they were Vietnam. So we knew we had some more homework to do. So by process of just reaching out to, whether it was cemeteries, whether it was, leading or various museums, even obituaries, we started going down that road, but really discovered that by contacting the Veteran Services in Hyannis, that led us on a referral to the Mass Military Records group, which is based in Milford, where we connected with the archivist there. And the person who's there was kind enough to pull up what you're seeing here. He provided us with Excel spreadsheets for everyone who identified in Orleans as their home base and served in Korea or Vietnam. And we got 2 spreadsheets for each theater. And lo and behold, what you will find, I mean, we've counted them, I will say that we've cross-checked them, and, you know, we still have a little more homework to do. But what we found is, as you go through those spreadsheets, they become our primary source of, you know, what's the right data, just because home base is listed, enlistment dates, branch, date they left. So we kind of presume these are the most accurate records we could find. We weren't finding them really with the town. But in any event, if you count these up, you will find we have found 89 veterans, Orleans veterans from Korea, and 110 from Vietnam. So there's, you know, call it 200. And as I mentioned, there were 120 names on the original plaques that were taken down. So we think we've sourced an additional 80 names that, you know, would arguably should be recognized on monuments. And, you know, as our operation goes, we don't think that we should be leaving anyone behind, but yet we're also cognizant of you know, getting them on the monuments, having enough room on the monuments, and making sure that these designs still work. The other thing I would mention in passing, and I would just say we're still working on this, of the 120 names that were on the plaques, we have found that 35 of them are not on these spreadsheets. Other than just trying to cross-reference, and we're still working with the archivist to deal with that, you know, aren't sure, you know, why that happened. We weren't looking to exclude anyone, but I just mentioned that we are, as cross-checking goes, we are finding names of people who are on the plaques but aren't on these records.
So Brian, I phrase it differently. The archivist couldn't find any record of 35 of the names that we had on our plaque. So
Yes.
we're a little confused by that and not sure what to do. You know, so is his records incomplete, or did somebody, I don't know, get misrepresented and actually was a veteran that wasn't from Orleans?
No, well, all I can say is we're still researching it. So while we had a couple of snowstorms here, so just so you know, this gentleman is going to continue to pull all the DD-214s and cross-references to see, is it possible that some of those names were World War II? I've started doing that, and I'm not seeing that.
So,
So why someone wouldn't be on the list, I don't know. How someone, you know, was on the plaque but, you know, didn't register on these schedules, we'll find out. I mean, I'm concerned about it, but nevertheless, there'd be another 35. So potentially you've got the 200 from these Excel sheets and another 35 who have been on those plaques for 40 years.
so I can share a little bit that I've already talked to Brian about, but to share with the committee, and Dave being part of the American Legion Post 308 may be able to shed some light on. When the original plaques were made for the World War II or Vietnam or Korea, was it a requirement by the town of Orleans to show a DD-214? That's the way it was always explained to us, that a DD-214 shows where you lived at the time that you served. But that may not have been a priority, or may not have been part of the equation back in the 40s and 50s and 60s when they started putting these. Could it have been something that someone who was an Orleans resident by tax roll, if they showed that they paid taxes in the town of Orleans, and enabled them to be on the monument in Orleans, not necessarily a DD-214? I mean, I know that's what we're looking at for a requirement, but we don't know if that requirement was in place back in the 50s when they were putting some of these things together. And Paul Fulcher isn't around to ask that question. And I don't know if you remember from the American Legion Post 308. I know that the town did a legal notice in the paper and ran it for several weeks, and people would respond back to the American Legion Post or to the town of Orleans and say that, I saw the legal notice and I was a veteran. Did they require proof, or did they just show that they were a resident by the tax rolls? I don't know. I know some people chose not to be on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial because it was not a popular war, and they chose not to have their name there, which now times have changed, but we don't know.
Is one thought, I understand that the archive has this, we have this, and it's who knows how these records work, back in the point, like there's probably steps that have happened that no one knows the answers on. Does it make sense if we look at the face of the Korean monument with all the names on it, just to put 1 or 2 sentences at the bottom, saying that the names shown on this monument were a collective effort from this and this, or something like just saying, the town made every effort, or just a qualify, just something on there. Because maybe the archivist didn't have information, who knows what the, but what a great, to do this level of work here, to track this down, this investigation is really looks like a lengthy effort to do it.
I think it would be a mistake, though, to not include the 35 names, even though the archivists couldn't find any.
Oh,
They were previously on.
Yeah, I think we,
100%.
yeah, we.
The last thing our committee wants to do is take anybody off
Yeah.
or not put
So
them
maybe
back
just a
on.
statement saying the names on this
So,
plaque.
so we've got the names in pretty good shape here.
And
I think it's good as it's gonna get. I don't know, Brian, do you think, how much
Well, we
more
had the-
work? Because we're trying to get that to you guys, so that we can make sure the monument's big enough. There's a lot, that's a lot of extra names. So,
Well, I can tell you this, as a board, we talked about it, I think that, a couple things. First of all, one thing that we're gonna cross-check is of these 35 we mentioned, whether it turns out, we didn't do this yet, but we're working on it. So if it turns out that, maybe some of the people might have been from Eastham, maybe they were in Brewster. I don't know, we've only pulled the Orleans names thus far, so we'll check. But I agree, I'm not looking to exclude anyone who was already on there. But the other thing I would just mention is, all these names on these spreadsheets, we have the backup, we actually have the service cards to every name on those Excel sheets, so
Yeah,
we think it's.
He's shown me
the
all the
data
actual
source
cards
works.
handwritten with their names. Pretty cool.
But I just would say that, so as far as the Korean monument goes, I did talk to Tom about it. Once we uncovered this, before we did order the India Red Granite, and we, as a 501, we're committed to the monument, we're gonna go ahead. But I did run it by Tom, so in this design of the Korea layout, we did make sure that if we had to have up to, 95 names, everyone could be represented on the Korea monument that you're showing.
How many additional names were on the Vietnam? I know you said that the Vietnam originally had 110. What do you have for a new number?
Okay, well, the old plaques had 120 names.
Okay.
They were never.
Oh, total.
They were never separated well enough for me to say 30 were Korea, 90 were Vietnam. We kind of proved it was not in order.
Okay.
So 120 is now 200, and then you would add the 35 names that right now we haven't cross-referenced. So, of those 35, I'm not sure which theater is which.
yeah, that's the next step, is trying to figure out
Okay.
those 35 that the archivists couldn't figure out. We gotta now figure out, how do we go, put them in the right
Which
spot?
monument do we
I had
go
I
on?
had a talk with Tom today, and Tom said it doesn't, in regards to the Korean War Memorial, the front, and by the way, I went to the trouble, because it's not trouble at all. but just so everybody can see what the monument will look like,
You
I did,
made that?
I did really good in crafts class.
Wow, you did.
So this is the monument with the names on the front, and they'll actually be white like that, because when you etch the
You don't
actual.
need the diorama of the rest of the park like that, Kevin.
Oh my God, look, you even did that.
Yeah,
Look at-
I reduced the size of the drawing and put that on there. I couldn't make that, I couldn't make it bronze, but
Should've gone
The
to
point-
art school.
the point of that is.
India red?
Yeah.
No, I think that was garnet, I'm not
But
sure.
look at the,
But the point of my
Wow.
conversation was, in talking with Tom, if he needs more real estate on the front for the names,
go on the
he just
side.
makes the angle, no, he'll just make the angle a little, like
Steeper?
he'll make the front deeper or taller
And
and then
Right,
angle higher.
exactly.
So he's got plenty of room to be able to do that.
That is
The
brilliant.
the Vietnam Veterans Memorial might be a challenge, because I know that the wings, depending on how they are,
Yeah.
how high they are, we don't know, and the size of the letters. I think Tom said that those letters were, the letters for the Korean War Memorial were they 3/4 inch, Brian?
Yes, so we've now, so look, we made an assumption, if the average name is 15 characters and we've got room for 96 names at 3/4 inch lettering, it's doable, and with the way you're describing angling the top.
Right.
So we're happy about that. We thought this was gonna be quite the budget buster, but we will want to inscribe the names while the stone is in the factory, as opposed to doing it on site.
Right.
That's where it gets a little hairy.
Yeah, so we do still have some work to do, but the purpose of having Brian address us is that we've discovered that not all is as clear as we hoped it would be. We knew that there'd be some discrepancies between Korea and Vietnam. Some people that were in Vietnam were in Korea as well, so they were in both theaters, so their names would be on both.
Right.
But the question came up that we have additional names that weren't identified there, and how do we proceed with that? And there are names on the memorial that don't show that they were actually DD 214. So I have thought long and hard about it. If, as Marty said, if their names were on those monuments, they're staying on the monuments, because we don't know what the criteria was to get them onto those monuments. It could have been something very simple, like Paul Fulcher or the American Legion Post 308 might have said, okay, I know you're retired and you live down here in Orleans and you own a piece of property in Orleans, but you were in
Yeah.
Beverly when you served, but you own property in two places. So sure, your DD 214 may have said Beverly, but you own property in Orleans as well, so we'll let you be on our stone, because you own property in Orleans. It may not have been your primary, but, and again, I'm just spitballing, and we don't know
That's a
exactly.
pretty good assumption, probably.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing is, it's like, anything and everything is a possibility, we just don't know. We don't know what the criteria was at the time, but I certainly don't want to take anyone's name or not put someone's name back on a memorial that was on it before, so.
Brian, is there an option that Tom can add names if necessary on site?
Yeah, but at a much greater cost
I see.
than $5 a letter, like 15 or plus for a letter.
Yeah,
Do it on
I
site.
did-
Right,
I-
Brian? I think it was like 3+ times more expensive to do it on site.
Yeah, we do that from the benches and other things, that it's, 3 to 4 times more costly to start engraving on the site than it is to do it ahead of time in the shop. We always have bricks, but we want people to be recognized, the best way possible. But, so if we've got, 90 names, right, not 90 names, Tom said there's probably room for 90, 95 names the way we're designing it. Since we don't know exactly yet the 35, I don't know how many are gonna turn out to be Korea or Vietnam. If the assumption is they're all Vietnam, then you've got 145 names to make sure you get on the Vietnam Memorial,
That's a lot of
which is a lot more than originally laid out.
Yeah, I think, if down the road, a name comes up that was somehow omitted, or, whatever the case may be, we can have Tom come out and do that. I mean, it is
Yeah.
expensive,
Yeah.
but it can be done. Not like the old Vietnam and Korea plaques, where we had to have those plaques, recreated to add those names, because they were bronze. And at least with the engraving of the granite, it's a doable function if we find somewhere down the road that someone was left off.
Correct.
Well, it's interesting. I had a feeling that I thought that we were gonna find a lot more people served in Vietnam that did not want to be on the monument. That's why they didn't respond to the legal notices. But I didn't realize that we were gonna come up with names that didn't reflect back to the military, so it's kind of an interesting turn of events. I wasn't expecting that, so.
Do you think there are names that this archivist found that those people do not want to be on this memorial, and we're adding them against their will?
Well, and I don't mean to speak for Brian, but I think that we're gonna have to do our due diligence, just like you folks did. We'll have to do an article in the paper. We're gonna have to we'll do an article, but we'll also do a legal notice and ask if people, if they wanna be on the Vietnam or Korea, now's the time. Present your DD 214 for Orleans, and we can start the process. I think we may find that there are gonna be people that are not in Orleans anymore. They're not gonna, either they've moved on, they've moved to another state, another
could have
town.
died.
They don't live,
That's
they could have
right.
died. So now opens up the question, if we identify Vietnam veterans or Korea War veterans and we don't get a response from the legal notice, should we honor them by at least getting a brick and putting a brick down with a name? That way we can honor them, but then I don't think that would offend the family. That would be for the committee to make a determination, I think, is if we want to do that. Maybe we wouldn't go so far as to add them to the actual memorial, because maybe they still don't feel strongly enough. I don't know.
A lot of
This
time
is-
has passed. You don't know if people have passed away, or, who the heck knows where. I mean, this is
Absolutely.
kind of a,
Well, most Vietnam veterans are in their late 70s now.
Well,
Yeah.
Hank Veit was a Korean War veteran, and he was quite alive and kicking when we started this whole process, and unfortunately, he's not with us anymore, so, we're losing veterans. So time is not on our side when it comes to some of
No.
these memorials and getting names on and such.
I mean, it's hard to refute these spreadsheets with the backup service cars. I don't know if I mean, look, right now, we've committed to fortunately being able to budget this, at least for, certainly for Korea at this time. I think we had a hefty price increase in the granite. We have a budget to install it, attach it, engrave it. I don't think from our standpoint, we didn't feel like, well, we've got an additional 40 names, let's, put 40 bricks down and then leave 40 on the monument. We felt you're pretty much opening up yourself to families saying, hey, why did you do that? We feel like if we can get them engrave them on the monument, we should.
Yeah,
And
well,
if we miss somebody, then we're obviously happy to put them in front of the monument on bricks, but I don't feel like we should wholesale exclude a block, because now we're finding that these records are here.
I'm surprised at how many names there are, because I grew up in a town of 60,000 people. We have a Vietnam memorial. There's probably only like 30 names. I don't know if they only put people's names that died,
That's
or
that's
if they
good.
put everybody, but this is not a big town, and I'm shocked at how many names there are.
Over 58,000 served over 10 years. So there's a good chance, I think you're probably right, that you were looking at names that had been killed.
Deceased, yeah.
I mean, this,
So too.
for this town to have that many people I mean, I know it wasn't a short
We're incredibly
war.
patriotic here in Orleans.
You must be. I didn't think there were that many guys that, to have that many names on.
There was an escalator of young men to
This was a very
to supply the
masculine place to
Vietnam
grow
War
up, I
with.
guess.
Well, I think, I think with Brian continuing and the committee continuing to
Yeah,
do your
we'll
part,
keep
trying to ferret out the distinction between the two theaters and the names, it'll be interesting to see how we move forward. Now, not that this has any bearing on it, but Brian, did we get in under the wire for the red granite before the taxes went up?
The India Red?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Yeah, Tom actually, I think,
Yeah.
called you, Brian, and
Yeah.
said, hey, if you don't hurry up, you're gonna
Because
get paid 50%.
Because I know our
15%
committee
more.
agreed that it was gonna be the India Red and we were gonna move forward. But did we make it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we made it, we got the order in, although obviously as we're trying to finish, deal with the Vietnam Memorial, I mean, we're staring at, big increases in stone.
What was the number that he,
15%.
okay,
It's a 15% increase.
okay, and that was of February 1st?
Yeah.
Again, that's just the stone, right?
Right. Okay, all right.
Marty's gotta go.
Bye, everyone.
All right,
Good
thanks,
meeting.
Marty, I appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Marty.
Andrew, I think the average age of a soldier that was killed in Vietnam was 19. Is that correct?
It could be. I mean, when I was there were lots of kids who were
Right.
19, 20.
I think I remember hearing this song when I was a little tiny
Yeah.
little girl. The average age was 19. So there were a lot of young people that were killed, which may reflect in the big number that we have.
On the monuments in Centerville at the World War I and World War II, it lists the age. There was some 15s.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they snuck in there. Yeah.
That's why I remember looking at
I
all the
want to
different ones
thank-
doing this, and I
Yeah.
saw that, I'm like,
Wow.
I want to thank you, Brian, and your people, your team, for all your efforts to gather names. It's a real challenge, I'm sure, and thank you.
Thank you. Well, look, we want to get it right. I was going to say, like, just from a timing standpoint, so, Kevin was addressing the bronze plaque and the design. So we are trying to keep this to a June completion and a June install, certainly using that certainly as a ahead of 4th of July.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. This 250th birthday is going to be celebrated on the 4th of
Well,
July.
we'd like to get them all in by then if we could, but we know that, I don't think this is gonna make it for Memorial Day, but we have it as a June, and I'm hoping that we can do a reveal or we'll have, some ideas ahead of 4th of July.
In talking with Tom, he said that the Indigenous marker will probably be in April, sometime in April, May, possibly. The Korean War Memorial should be completed prior to July 4th, so we can have some kind of a dedication or such for the Korean War Memorial following Memorial Day. Maybe do it before the crush of summer traffic.
Well, not only
Yes.
that, but the Korean War conflict actually ended, I believe it was June 27th or June 28th.
Okay.
I have to look up the exact, so that would be great. That would be a great target, and it was 1953, I believe.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that would actually,
Oh,
that could be great. June,
And it's, right.
we'll have to plead our case to Tom.
Right.
But, yeah, no, I mean, that would be ideal. But the nice thing is, with the engineers, we're ready for it. All we gotta do is have it. So it's not like we have to do any prep work for the ground and, we're just ready to go.
And in the
hopefully
meantime-
the new bricks will be, in place by
And in the
then.
meantime, there's the loose end of the entrance monument too. which
Yes, that's
Needs
something
to be
that-
considered.
Tom is going to address that when we have him come down and give us his presentation for the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. He's going to also give us an update on the entrance marker as well.
Good.
So we should be good on that. So, all right. Any further discussion on the Korean War Memorial? Everyone understands you know, the size of the block, the face and the angle are gonna be determined by the number of names that we actually have. The bronze plate, I think before we actually, would like to get that bronze plate ordered, but I want to, well, I've got a quorum tonight. What say you committee members? Do we want to make a vote to have, I mean, we all kind of decided that that chosen reservoir Marines walking up was going to be the core.
Right.
And then the outside edge was going to be some form of drawing.
How many different symbols are on there? So we have the center, then we have.
Yeah, I didn't put symbols
2,
on
3,
there.
4, well, not symbol, but like we have the center, then we have 5, you know.
Yeah, that's-
Thinking about the placement, you know, looking at the examples, you know, one was like a photograph and we had something behind it.
Right.
And we just want to be careful not to make this thing look too,
Busy.
I
busy.
agree,
Yeah, me
yes,
too.
that's my concern as well. Do you know, Kevin, do we know the area of that oblique
Yes.
face
Yes, it is.
that we have to work with?
Stand by.
Yeah, I think there's a risk of it being too busy as
So
well.
we have 3 feet by 18 inches.
3 feet by 18. So we're showing 2, so it's Coast Guard, Navy, Air Force, Army. And then, because one thought, if there was 4, you could kind of look at the 4 corners and have,
Yeah.
you know, a diagrammatic, or is there a way to do?
Well, could you have excuse me, but could you have, all right, you've got the, like the stamp, the Marines coming out in the middle, that would be predominant. And then could you have one of the planes a little bit smaller so it looks like it's in the distance,
I was
kind
just
of
getting
over
to
their
that.
heads, flying this
Yeah.
way, ahead of
We can
them?
do anything.
Well, because you have the Marines with the mountain, if you had the background, you could have a ship in the background, a plane in the front, but then how do you fit in the rest of the?
The plane would be coming in here, and then you would have 4 corners. See, it would be in the distance that you could fade it back and have it.
Do you want to make us a new sketch, Kevin?
Yeah, can you do that?
Well, it's
And
almost
then you would
falling.
use, and then you would.
Dominant and subdominant images here.
Like this would be.
Large
Yes,
and
you
Or,
could get the
or it
plane
could be
somewhere in
even
the
nose
purpose.
first,
So
even.
this is what they're looking at. So if, what they're talking about is if we have the soldiers in the middle, the Marines coming out of the chosen,
Dominant.
dominant,
Yeah.
and then having the plane possibly coming in flying over them,
Right in the middle, right here, yeah,
like here in the middle.
right. Like kind of distance, like you knew that it was gonna come and lead over their heads. And then you would have the 4 corners, so it wouldn't be quite as busy.
I mean, you could have the tank right in the background with the
Or
soldiers.
you could have the helicopter if you wanted.
With the soldiers right in front, you know, have that. Looking at that bronze plaque that you showed, that example, it looks like there's a lot of ability to
Yeah.
you know, to do.
Yes.
Can you pull up that bronze, the bronze one?
See, this was an example
Right.
Tom gave me, but look how busy it is. It's like, you know,
You know, it's hard, it's a
You don't
hard thing
even
with
know
this.
what
Some
you look at.
some people love this, other people say
Yeah.
it's too busy, and it's like an opinion type.
There's a lot of overlap.
But you see how this, how
Yeah.
they can make, that one looks like a portrait, right, in the center. That looks like someone's photograph. Then you have a real-life sculpture of someone's face. And if you go up there, behind the portrait, you have a, you know, a stationary object with a, so there was a lot of creative thought on how do we make this look with what can be engraved into the bronze.
It's kind of like a collage,
Yeah,
overlapping.
but even how the top of his cover goes over the corner of the photo, how it was,
but that looks like it's faded back too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not.
so if we made the focal point the troops marching out,
Yeah.
how do
Right.
we thoughtfully place the other elements so they don't distract from that? And we're not gonna have any letters or anything on this part, this is just strictly the image?
That was, yeah, but again, our committee can decide if we want to have the words. I think the engraving on the back, it's going to say Korean conflict or Korea
Yeah.
War, and then the year. I don't know, and we could talk to
You said
Tom.
36 inches by 18 inches, so you could have your troops.
Well, my foot is exactly 12, so you're talking about that much.
Yeah, by this far, so we have a little bit of a room. Does he do renderings?
Oh, yeah.
Like the graphic design part, arrange all this and
Yep.
maybe is it something we can say, here's our vision, we want the troops in the center, but can you work this somehow so it all makes sense?
Yeah, Tom has said that, you know, you just give me the ideas, I'll put it together and we'll put the rendering and display, and give it to the.
Because done correctly, I think with the way the shading and the, I mean, you can even see the fellow's shadow.
I know,
His feet
that's
are
what's
going back
crazy,
there.
yeah. Yep, no, I agree.
Just like Katie mentioned, moving the plane to the back, you could do the same thing with the ship. If you drew a wave in front of the hull of the boat, you could push it back so it looks like your ship's
So it looks
in
like
the
it's
distance,
far
too.
away.
Let me see.
Plane could have a shadow too.
Yeah, well, like the Coast Guard boat, you know, well, that's actually a picture. I was trying to pull pencil drawings, because Tom said it was easier to do a relief from the pencil drawing.
I think you can like actually edit that image to make it a relief, and it will show. Try for 1 second here.
But I think personally, and this is just my, I don't want to say I was working unilaterally without the committee's decision, but adding the helicopter, I think, is huge, because the medical field was
In Korea?
huge. In
Really?
Korea, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just remember it from MASH.
Well,
Yeah,
that's-
of course, and a lot of
that's
people
true.
will remember it from MASH.
Yeah.
And they'll relate to it being a medical
Right.
Yeah, that's
evacuation.
Nope.
What's that, Brian?
No, I think that's great. If you're identifying MASH as the chopper or field tent,
Yeah, I mean, it
I
could
think
be.
that's good. That's
I-
good.
Yeah, I think it's huge, because that showed, I mean, they medevaced sailors, Army, Marine Corps,
Everybody.
Air Force, everybody. And I think it would be kind of cool
Enemy.
because. Enemies,
It
yeah.
was the- It was the first war they used choppers to
Yeah,
evacuate wounded
and it
and
was,
dead.
and it was used huge during Vietnam. Of course, those were the Hueys, but.
I was on many.
So,
Oh, look at you.
so they have all these different like effects you can apply. That's not the right one. Let me go back to the,
Yeah.
where is it here?
Yeah, just give
Um,
some idea of relief image.
But I think it's, and again, not to say that I was working unilaterally, but I figured adding the MASH helicopter, because that really helped all the services. But I also wanted to include the Coast Guard, because they're not recognized, other than the World War II monument. There you go.
That's kind of close to like a pencil. It's just how it interpolates it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a little tighter in there, but that's normally they take the image and they turn it over to
I
this.
like that.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
That is kind of cool, though.
Yeah. You know, I think that it's important that we make sure that we recognize all the branches of service.
Yeah.
Mhm.
More cluttered there.
Oh, look at that.
Mm, wow.
Yeah.
Do it the reverse.
That's the
So
black
yeah,
box.
I'm sure that Tom probably has some of this, there's all different software that can take a photo and convert it into different things, but this, where was the one that looked kind of pencil-y? Was that this one? No? Nope. Nope. This is painful, I'm sorry, gang.
No. Brian, you can see all these drawings, can't you?
I can.
Okay.
I'm actually looking at something I'm gonna send to Katie in a second, so.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
Send it to my phone.
Well, why don't we do this? We'll keep the spectrum open a little bit. If our committee can say that this is kind of the images we want to go forward with, perhaps there are better ones out there, but if this is kind of what we're looking at for a 3-foot by 18-inch piece of bronze with a border on it, we can work as a committee, figure out which images we actually want to have on that bronze plaque.
That's not too much. Yeah. Okay, I'm done messing around.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you stuck around.
Yeah. Do you want me to close these other spreadsheets out, Kevin? We have this similar one here for the Vietnam, it looks like.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, does the committee feel strongly enough to create, to make a motion to start to solidify the bronze plaque and possibly come up with some images and then have Tom give us a rendering once he gets to that point?
So moved.
I think we need to approve the rendering before it's cast in bronze.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, my
Absolutely.
God, yes.
But I just want to make sure that we're all
Yeah.
on the same page in regards to this type of rough idea of, you know, with the branches around the outside edge. All right, so there's a motion to move forward with this proposal by Dave Lai. Seconded, Andrew?
Seconded.
All those in favor signify by saying aye through roll call. Dave Lai? Aye.
Andrew
Andrew
Delory.
Delory?
Aye.
Aye. Kevin Higgins? Aye. Okay, so this will be good. If we can get both of these projects rolling, the red granite is already going. If we can start working on the granite, the bronze, then we can have that rendering proposed to us possibly within a month or so. And then we can get that in place, so we don't have to kick that can any harder down the road. So, okay, so that is that. All right, so the next item on the agenda is to come up with presentation dates from either Site One and Tom Blute. I want to set an agenda item, a meeting for just that item. That's it. All we're going to discuss is Vietnam, and it's going to be Site One's proposal, and the next, maybe a week to 10 days later, it'll be Tom Blute's proposal, and then our committee will decide which design we like best, and we can move forward, or adjust them, and then move forward at that point.
It gives us the opportunity to ask questions of any vendor
Mhm.
who's presenting their concept
So,
or specs.
right, so the item, the agenda item is to pick a date for that proposal. Now, I have to throw a monkey wrench into things and say that my
Yeah.
wife and I are going on vacation
Yeah.
on the 18th of February and coming back on the 28th. So I'm going to be away for 10 days. So today is the 4th. I know, Andrew, you've been in communication with Site One. Do
Yes.
you want to check with them and see if they are available next week, the week of the 9th or the 10th, or do you want to wait until the beginning of March? Well, actually, we could do it the third week of February if it's the 16th or the 17th.
Mhm.
What's that, Brian?
Sooner the better.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I think the February 16 or 17 would work. I'm also planning to be away for a trip to London in early March.
Okay. When are you going to be away?
Tentatively from the 10th through the 20th.
Okay, so we have the first week of March available.
Right, as well.
So we could have Site One propose something either on the, if they're ready,
Yes.
the 16th or the 17th of February, and then we could ask Tom Blute to present on the 2nd or 3rd of March. That puts it 2 weeks, they're 2 weeks apart from each other. Does that sound
That sounds
doable?
doable. Yeah,
Okay, do you think Site One's ready for
I believe so.
presentation?
I already have preliminary numbers from them, but they need to finalize them based on Russ's buttress idea of, making it more structurally and having more structural integrity.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's a little revision, but I think they can do it by that time.
Okay. All right, so
I'll confirm.
I will leave it open right now, but tentatively, I'm just going to put the dates down. We're looking at the 16th or the 17th of February for Site One. And then 2nd or 3rd
March, yeah.
for Crosby. And then our committee can
Go from
communicate,
there. Yeah.
talk with them, whatever needs to be done to kind of finalize the design, and then we can get rolling on that. Really would like to have the Vietnam Veterans Memorial done before Veterans Day,
I think that's very possible. The
coming into the
last-
summer, so.
The indication from Site One, based on the first proposal, is that it could be done by the beginning of May. Six,
Including engraving all the names,
yes,
if we have all the names.
yeah. there's a question of, they're working with a company called Cape Cod Cornerstone for installation, so there's a little bit of wild card depending on when Cornerstone can come in. But there's a potential of having it done before Memorial Day,
Okay.
if Site 1 is approved.
Okay. All right, so with that being said, and I've already indicated the end of March, end of February, I will be gone, so the 24th would have been our next traditional meeting. Could still have that meeting, I just won't be here. Are you folks here on the 24th?
Kevin, I don't know how we could do it without you.
Oh, everybody would be just fine.
And,
And don't forget to take some cookies home.
Yeah.
can,
Brian,
just
go ahead.
the comment on this, can you please, like, if you can do this as, certainly, I would say maybe a joint invitation with our 501, I think whoever is involved, Tom Blue, we have obviously a lot of familiarity with and is vetted. Since we don't know who these companies are, they've been invited, we haven't seen them, but I was gonna say, it's not just about design, so when someone comes in to present, they should be providing their bios, their references, their financials, so that when we're seeing something, it's been, we have a chance to vet them. That's how this goes. I mean, we're a public 501. We have to know who we're dealing with and what their background is, what their experience is. So all those questions need to be asked and answered and vetted.
Well, I can, did we ask Tom Blute for any financials? I don't remember asking him for any. I mean, I certainly, I do appreciate having them come forward and say, show us what you've done, similar. That would be optimal. But I don't think financials are really
Okay.
pertinent, but.
I'd say that we're in a different camp here. We don't know who these folks are.
No, I agree, I agree, and
Well,
that'll be part of having Andrew have them come in, is
To
we're gonna have
address-
them show us what they've done to
To
show that
address,
they are.
Brian, to address that concern, I believe it's important to have a choice. Normally, if this was outside of the 501c, we would have people come in and make proposals, RFPs, and bid. So I'm working on that kind of model, that we have a choice. I think the veterans deserve that.
Well, I will step in between the two of you and agree that it's a good idea to have a choice, but it's also important that whatever they're building is something that's gonna last longer than 20 years.
Right, well,
So
that-
show us what you've done that's lasted longer than 20 years. Show us the substantiality of the memorial.
Well, if they've only
Because-
been around for 10 years, but if you're using stone and things that are permanent, I think the point is, we
Yeah.
just want to make sure they don't go out of business halfway through this, and we're,
Absolutely,
you know.
absolutely.
Well, the technology is also advanced.
Sure.
So perhaps, I think that will come out in the presentations.
Absolutely.
The
Well,
quality,
that's what we want to ask.
Structural integrity.
We want to ask questions and we want answers.
Right.
So that's,
Structural integrity, timing, cost, absolutely, all those things.
speaking of cost, Brian, have we seen any accounts? I know that you're required to file with the IRS annually. Can we see the numbers that you're having in-house?
Excuse me, all my filings are with
It's
the
a question of,
SAP.
it's a question of accounting.
well, I don't really see why we need to see their accounting. I mean,
That would be part of this meeting.
they're collecting money for our committee. I mean, you can ask them how much they've got, but I mean, I think that's a moving target. But I don't think it's our responsibility to ask them for their financials. I mean, they submit them to the state, they don't answer to us. I mean, that's,
Well, could we have just a summary of how much money is available for monuments going forward?
yeah, I'm sure.
Kevin,
I'm sorry.
can we have a summary of, or at least one number of how much money is available for future monuments?
Again, it's not our committee, it's not our position to ask what their financials are. I mean, answer to the state. They are set up through the state. We can ask, but if they don't tell us,
But they're a partner in this.
they're a partner with us, yeah, absolutely, but,
Why-
you
why
know,
not?
we,
there any-
as I've said before, Andrew, we approve a design and a look, and then it's up to them to pay for it. So we're not sitting there going, well, Site 1 is gonna be $50,000 and Tom Blute is gonna be $35,000, so we wanna go with Tom Blute because he's cheaper. That's not our gig, that's their gig. So we approve the design, we approve the look, whatever it is, and it's their responsibility to pay for it. If Site 1 comes in and our committee chooses Site 1 and it's 110,000 and Tom Blute is 45,000, but we like 110,000, well then they're gonna have to figure out how to pay for the 110,000, or we've gotta have some compromise. And compromise has been the cornerstone to this whole project.
Okay, so in other words, it's inappropriate for us to request
I think so.
accounting from the 501c partner.
We're not a paid committee, we
Yeah,
are a
that's for sure.
completely volunteer committee, and we are just proposing ideas, and then they are paying for them. If town hall wants to ask for those things, well, then maybe there's some horsepower to it. But I don't think it's our responsibility. I've never asked them how much money they've got for bricks. I just let them do it. Let them do their thing. Let them collect the money
I've
for
been
the
selling
bricks.
bricks all week long, so the numbers are always growing, that's all
Yeah.
I'm gonna say.
I mean, I could certainly, if you want, I will go to town council and I'll ask them if we have a responsibility, if there's some fiscal responsibility on our part to ask them for their financials. But I got a feeling Mike Ford is gonna say, why? You're not a town, you're a town committee, but you're independent arm and unfunded, so you really don't have any horsepower. I mean,
Well, thank you.
that's just my.
Brian and Kevin, that was instructive.
That's just my understanding of working with committees.
I mean, I'm-
And again, we've got a former selectman sitting right here, so if there's anything that needs to be addressed or corrected, by all means.
Yeah, I would only answer Andrew in a way that says, you can, anyone, you can go look up, anything about us at the Mass Attorney General's office, but I would probably say to you, the proof's in the pudding too. You're in a park where you have 1,000 inscribed bricks. I think it's pretty much known that, our owners paid for the benches in the park, the Civil War plaque that was done, the podium, and you're sitting in a meeting where we just committed to the Korean monument. The base for that India granite is $25,000. So I wouldn't be sitting here in a meeting telling you that we've done anything less but support this Korean monument and then add 95 names on it when we were expecting maybe 40. So, if you're asking me, I could sit there and go, yeah, I'd like to commit to the Vietnam Memorial, or should have felt like we would have done it 6 months ago, but we haven't yet. So I just, I now have to absorb, another 50 names on the Vietnam Memorial, as well as another 25% increase in the stone. So let's get this meeting going and get it started. We've got spring events planned and other fundraisers planned, so, let's get it done. Thank you.
Well, regards to bio and references and background, et cetera, I would suggest to give it to consider an equal playing field, that if Tom would review his references, his bio, et cetera, for people who may be watching who don't know, so we have, equal time to qualify who they are, as you
Okay.
suggested.
Yeah, we can ask them.
That's fine.
Good.
And I know we just did the Provincetown monuments, veteran memorials too, so. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah. Motion.
Are you still awake, David?
6:05. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Andrew Delory,
Aye.
David Lai, aye.
Nay.
Kevin Higgins, aye.